This video is about resiliency. Now, we all know what a resilient person is. It's somebody with grit. It's somebody who doesn't let obstacles and setbacks get in the way of them ultimately achieving their goals. But what is a resilient community? Well, the concept is the same. It's how well your city responds to unforeseen changes or disruptions. And when we're talking about a resilient economy, we're talking about how adaptive your city is to recessions, or the closure of one or two businesses, or sea changes in the broader economy. The current COVID crisis is a stark example of a shock to the economy. And while it may be difficult to imagine what a recovery looks like right now in this time and place, this is actually a perfect time to be thinking about how to evolve our economy and put policies in place so that we're ready for the next big challenge.
In this video, we're going to talk about the importance of a resilient economy, how Clemson stacks up as a resilient city, and the role of small business and storefronts and how they relate to resiliency in Clemson.
At the end of this video, you will see that there are actions that Clemson could take to be more resilient, and your input is going to be crucial to helping determine what direction the city takes moving forward. Number one, what is a resilient economy? Why is it important? I'll admit, resiliency is probably not a word that most people spend their free time thinking about as it pertains to their city or their economy, and yet it may be the single most important thing to determining the success of your entire community moving forward.
Economists have studied why some cities have stronger economies over a period of decades than others. The answer is complex, but one of the important takeaways is that, over time, cities with lots of smaller companies in different industries tend to have more job and income growth. The reason? Diversification means resiliency. If a recession hits a particular industry, some might fail, but others will survive. It also means innovation. When you have a culture of people starting up new companies, as opposed to doing the same thing day in and day out, you have a community more capable of evolving new business models. That's innovation, and it's essential to community survival.
So resiliency, diversification, and innovation are critical to growing your economy, and equity-minded communities can take this prosperity to fund things ranging from education to infrastructure to better quality, affordable housing for all of its residents.
Did you know that 1/3 of new jobs created every year come from startups? 85% of all businesses in the US have less than 20 employees. Half of all businesses nationally have less than 5 employees.
Number two, community resiliency. How does Clemson stack up? So how resilient is Clemson's economy? The answer is there's definitely room for improvement.
As the growth video clearly documents, the city has some really good things going for it. It's in the middle of the growing and resilient super region that includes Atlanta, Greenville, and Charlotte. And of course, it has a major flagship university, which provides a lot of jobs and positions it well in the era of the knowledge economy.
But the current economic crisis has clearly shown that even universities are not immune to budget cuts. Remember, over the long run, over a period of decades, reliance on a single industry or employer is rarely good. Let's take a look at the non-university part of the economy.
Overall, the economy in Pickens County is growing, but at half the rate of the Greenville region and the state. When we look at non-university jobs, a full 50% are in historically low-paying service jobs, while a combined 14% are in higher-paying blue-collar and white-collar or knowledge sector occupations. Unsurprisingly, 360,000 square feet of new retail space has been added to Clemson since 2010, as opposed to just 21,000 square feet of office space.
This puts Clemson at the absolute low end of office growth amongst its peer university communities. And this is really important because this is an indicator of the city's ability to capture job growth from university graduates.
One way that university communities are diversifying their economies is through innovation districts, which seek to translate university talent into private sector jobs by bringing together people with technology, design, and business backgrounds. Such efforts require city and university partnerships and are underway in places like Gainesville, Florida, and Blacksburg, Virginia, where Virginia Tech is planning 600,000 square feet of new innovation space adjacent to its downtown.
So, Clemson has some great built-in advantages as a university community. Yet, in terms of diversification, it's lacking. And while innovation could be a key to growth, it would take a great deal of intentionality and effort from the city and the university. In this process, we're asking you, does Clemson want to change course in terms of diversification and university partnerships? Number 3, storefronts. Now let's talk about something that we've already heard a great deal about from residents of Clemson, the desire to have more and varied storefront activity. In this time of COVID-19, there's a lot of uncertainty, but what community responses across the country have shown us is that people greatly value experience-oriented retail and dining experiences, as well as places where people gather. It's essential to community. Small businesses and storefronts could also point to diversification and resiliency strategies for the city of Clemson. But as you'll see, this would require doing some things very differently. First, we need to understand what is storefront retail, what would need to be done to support more of it, and what does a small business ecosystem look like?
A frequent theme in civic dialogue in Clemson revolves around vacant storefronts downtown and the lack of a diversity of small and local businesses. How can this be when Clemson added almost 360,000 square feet of retail in its major corridors over the past 10 years?
Part of the reason is economics. New storefront retail space usually requires a lease rate of $25 a square foot, and most small businesses and mom and pops can only afford half of that. But the reason is more complex. And first, we need to explain a little bit about the current retail environment and how that relates to storefront and Main Street retail.
Retail can be grouped into categories, some of which, like electronics and books, people are more likely to buy online, and others, like home improvement products, lure people with deep discounts. What that leaves for Main Street storefronts are neighborhood and community services, think grocery stores and pharmacies, dining and drinking, and some specialty shops, those mom and pop stores that provide handcrafted products or personalized service.
Now that we know what we're talking about relative to storefront retail, let's further subdivide storefront retail into 3 categories: neighborhood service, prime retail, and what we'll call, for lack of a better word, funky.
Neighborhood services can include a hair salon or fitness center. Prime retail includes upscale dining, boutique clothing, and maybe a wine bar or microbrewery. Funky spaces are often inhabited by artists and artisans that can only afford the lowest of rents but greatly contribute to the quality of place and its expression of community and culture.
So how much storefront retail can Clemson residents support? The answer is not much. Of the 9,000 non-student residents in Clemson, our analysts showed that they can support about 30,000 square feet of storefront-specific retail, which is about the size of a small strip center. In order to support a more diverse array of retail, Clemson's going to need some combination of the following 2 things: more spending from rooftops, more spending from foot traffic.
Clemson could seek to attract more storefront spending to its downtown and College Avenue from the following sources: visitors of special events and cultural destinations, students, workers, and more residents. Our analysts demonstrated that this could lead to support for 190,000 square feet of storefront retail.
Now that starts to get to something on the scale of a really robust downtown Main Street retail storefront environment. So how does Clemson get there? The answer is that the kind of storefront retail with lots of local artisans and entrepreneurs providing an array of diverse experiences and products. This sort of thing doesn't just happen.
It takes a small business ecosystem, foot traffic, quality of place, marketing and brand identity, entrepreneurs, and many, many other things.
If this is a direction Clemson wants to go, we can build a strategy around this. But first, we need to hear from you.
Do you want to grow an employment base through innovation and concentration of office in an area like downtown to encourage more worker spending? Do you want to attract more residents in select areas to increase the number of rooftops and spending? Do you want to create a brand and a destination that invites more visitors to Clemson throughout the year?
Many university communities have employed a variety of these strategies to create a rich and vibrant small business and entrepreneur ecosystem. So take the survey. Tell us what you think about resiliency. Your responses will help us know what kind of strategies we need to put in place to build the Clemson that you want as a community.